sis.
Hey, sis.
Hey, sister circle.
I'm your big sis, April.
And I'm your little sis, Tiffany. And we are Sister Talk Network Podcast.
Sisters bridging the generational gap while encouraging candid conversations
and healing amongst women, friends, and sisters. You have a sister now. Hey, sis.
Hey, sis.
Hey, sister circle. Hey.
We have a special guest today. I'm so excited. This is my sister, and I'm going to let her tell y'all a little bit about her. I'm trying not to get too excited. But this whole day came about because of one of our sister dinners.
Yes.
And we are sitting around and we're talking, and I don't even remember how, but the conversation of colorism came up, and just the whole light skin, dark skin thing, where in my mind, it's always like, you know, dark skinned girls growing up had issues, but she shed such a different light on it. And I got like that God tingly moment where it's like, this is something that we have to share. So Jacqui, my sister, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Tell them a little bit about yourself, and I'm going to give you the stage for a minute.
Okay. Well, thank you both for inviting me on.
Yes.
I do believe that this is a God-appointed, God-anointed time.
Absolutely.
My name is Jacqui, and I actually serve as a life coach
Yes.
at the current time. And like April said, we had that opportunity to speak at dinner, and I don't know how it came about.
No, I don't even remember.
But for some reason, it came up. And
God intended for it to come up.
Shared this information with you, and when you said to me, "Do you know how many people that could set free?" And God just showed me that this is where I needed to be on today. So I am grateful for the opportunity.
Tingles.
Yes.
Yeah, like it was literally like, and we were in a restaurant, which made it even harder because it's one of those moments where you just want to take off running. It's like run around the whole restaurant 3 or 4 times, but just a God ordained moment. And we always talk about God connections, and we're praying for God connections. And I know you all, my sisters, have heard me talk about those God connections, and this was one of them. And the crazy part about it, well, not so crazy because we know how the enemy works, is anytime God ordains something, the enemy tries to get in the middle. And can I tell y'all how hard we fought to be friends? Like, cause like, I don't know about this one, you know? And it just kept like things coming in between, almost like, I'm not sure. Just that doubt of, is God, I know what God is saying, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And just finally getting to the point of submitting to what he was saying. And then just watching him just unfold things and just put every piece to the puzzle together and knowing that this is truly God ordained. So you see our shirts, melanin, and just all of the different shades of colors. And it's all black is beautiful.
Absolutely.
But just the different shades and our struggles that come along with those shades. And Tiffany, I know a couple weeks ago, and I don't know if it was just the last episode or the episode before.
Y'all, we record ahead of time, so we like, what episode are we on?
Yeah, Tiffany brought it up.
14.
Oh, see, she knows it all. Where Tiffany just started to talk about it, and I'm like, okay, God, you got it again. Where you're setting the tone for what's to come. About it, where you had a situation and, you know, being younger and how you felt like if you got darker, it wasn't so pretty. And then I was telling you about how God brought to my remembrance something about me and being younger and being the darkest one and thinking that it didn't affect me, but apparently it did. So y'all go back and watch that episode. Go back and watch it because it's very pertinent. But we just going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about our individual experiences. And you're going to share something with us that totally blew my mind. So just tell us a little bit about your experiences with the whole light skin, dark skin thing.
Well, my experience began very young, being, in school and teased because I was light skinned and I had long hair. So feeling different, I mean, at 5 and 6 years old, you're trying to fit in.
Right.
You're trying to be accepted by others outside of your home.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult because I was one of the lighter girls, if not the lightest girl at that time. And it was often, I would say most days, spoken about.
Really?
So
stuff was like,
yes.
wow.
And I grew up in a home where we did not discuss that. It was I knew that I was Black, but we never discussed the shades of our skin or anyone else's skin.
Right.
So it was very uncomfortable for me for a long time.
I'm sure that's it's awful. And like I said, it gave me such a different insight and new insight because my experience was so much different. And it was the light-skinned girls are the pretty girls. The light-skinned girls with the long hair are the pretty girls. They're the popular girls. The dark-skinned girls are not pretty. And I think I shared with you that I even had somebody say to me, "Oh, you're cute for a dark-skinned girl." And it shattered me.
Yes.
But it's just
Where they
like,
at?
yeah, well, no, I was young. Like I was a teenager.
Ooh, thank God for that 15-year age gap.
Yeah, you weren't even around then. She always want to fight. Here she go, y'all.
Somebody going to the same. We going to the same school. Oh, problem right there.
So I had to take a step back and just in a place of empathy and understanding. Like, wow, I never thought that was even a thing or an issue. And I thank God for giving that insight to say, no, it wasn't only you.
Yes.
It happens to all of us. And especially, okay, so with that happening at such a young age, you say like 4 or 5. For me, it was a teenager when it became apparent to me. And just thinking about how does that now set the tone or the narrative for our lives as we go along? It's just another insecurity and another feeling not worthy, like we always talk about,
I think a lot of it has to do with just that time period. And because of everything Black families already had to struggle with, that wasn't apparent. Like, looking back at the Barbies, most of them were light skinned. We didn't have the dark skinned Barbies. Like,
right, blonde hair, blue eyes.
Yes, like in some instances, it's funny because if you bring a Barbie doll in my house that doesn't represent none of my kids, you better take it back because I'm not doing we're not doing that. Yeah. But just in that time of that's what we was raised around. All the models were of a certain shade. If you happen to see a Black person on the runway, I mean, Tyra Banks was one of them, but she wasn't. She was on the fairer end of it until Naomi Campbell came. Yeah. And even who was the other one? Imani. And then there was another one, Grace.
Grace Kelly. Yeah, she was different.
Yeah,
she was just different.
But just like even the skin and not having that representation of we're beautiful because we weren't seeing ourselves in magazines. We weren't seeing this. So society made it acceptable for one skin tone instead of the other. Yeah. And if we weren't getting it at home, and in my experience, I was tormented in my house when I got darker from family members. So it's like, okay, not only am I getting it from the school system. Outside. Yeah, and now I'm getting it on both sides because you're telling me, you done crossed over to the dark side.
And just not realizing how that would affect her. I think a lot of things are said or done and not having the understanding of what the ramifications are going to be or how that's going to affect you. So it's like now, even with your kids or with just children in general, we're so deliberate on what we say. Yes. Because we know the impact that things had on us. And in those instances, a lot of times I don't even think people were being malicious. It's learned behavior. They're saying things that they've heard, and then years later, we're trying to heal from it.
Their own insecurities.
Yeah.
Because even my husband brought up a good point about just the culture of different shades in the male's perspective.
Oh, he did.
I was like, you know what? That's a really good point, because light-skinned men in this era are deemed softer, not as masculine. And it's like, well, why? Because my dad's light-skinned and he can fix more stuff than you can. So what are you really saying? But just that, like, how are you going to tell a man from his skin color that he's naturally softer than somebody who's of a darker skin tone?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But look at how things flip-flop, because I can recall when I was growing up, same thing. The light-skinned guys was it. You know, like, yes, and I never liked them. I always liked the caramel or chocolate. But the light-skinned guys were it. Everybody wanted.
I was going for the light skin.
You was going all the way white. Like
I was going for the light skin. I was going for the blonde hair, blue eyes, either that direction, or I was going mixed. Yeah. Okay, it was black and Spanish. Like, okay, if you can give me that mixture, I get the best of both worlds. You can salsa and merengue, and you can still cook some soul food. Like, you can do them all. You can do it all. Yeah. But that was my mixture, and it was so funny when I met my husband, and he's darker, but his was the suits that caught my attention.
He was just sharp.
Okay,
sharp from head to toe. The swag,
manicured, the pointed shoes, the Stacey Adams shoes, and the pinstripe suits. I'm like, okay, brother,
the swag.
See, I think I fit the typical. Because I was so light, I was always attracted to very, very dark men.
Okay. Opposites attract.
Yes. Yes, there's truth in that. And I noticed that within my family, especially on my father's side, the very light women were generally with very dark men. That didn't play out necessarily in my husband. He was, I guess, kind of medium in there.
Yeah.
But that is where my eye goes initially. And I think it is because it's an opposite. That, it creates maybe a level of curiosity, because it's different. Right. They're different from you.
Yeah.
So I have always been attracted to the darker.
Yeah, that's good. That's different. Like, when you think about it from that perspective, it makes me wonder if it's because of what you went through. Like, you think your eye was automatically drawn. No, I don't want a light-skinned guy. I don't want a light-skinned guy because I know what I went through.
Well, someone once told me that it's who impacts you at a young age.
Okay.
So I had an uncle, my Uncle Bill, that was actually Aunt Susie's boyfriend.
Okay.
And Aunt Susie was very light in color, but Uncle Bill was very dark in color.
Got you.
And because my father was a light man.
Yeah.
But and I loved Uncle Bill. So at the same time, this wasn't communicated. When I was younger, we didn't talk about it at all. But because that's what I was surrounded by. Everyone was the same as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
There was no real differences.
And what a beautiful thing that is.
Yes, I'm grateful for that.
Yes, like, what a beautiful thing that is, where in your home you have the safety of this is not a thing. But then on the opposite hand, it's like, okay, now the world is going to shock you into reality. That's the hard part, of this is how it really is,
I guess I was around 14 and I had a brown-skinned girl actually explain the situation to me.
Really?
And I appreciate her in doing that. She said she thought I was stuck up, or she didn't know me, but didn't care necessarily to get to know me because she thought I was stuck up because of the color of my skin. So once and I guess for both of us, it was a freedom because once she got to know me, we became the best of friends.
Right.
But we were not close initially because
of that. And I can relate to that.
I was going to act a certain kind of way, because of my light skin and long hair, which, the truth of the matter is generally through your childhood, you are struggling with insecurity.
Period. Light skin, dark skin.
Doesn't matter the color of your skin. You are struggling with fitting in wherever you are because we're all getting to know ourselves. So,
that is. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's true. And I can relate to her. So, like, I have to say, I am sorry, sis. To all of my light skinned sisters, I am so sorry because I remember being that way. It's like you look at them and it's like, oh, she thinks she's better than me. She thinks she's this. She thinks she's that, but not recognizing the struggle, like just taking the time to get to know people and really understanding what their struggles are. But those teenage years, man, they hard. Yeah. And think about how much harder it is for our girls growing up. That's why I think we have to be so intentional in pouring into them and letting them know, no matter what shade you are absolutely gorgeous.
And sometimes maybe not even bringing so much attention to it.
Right.
Because when I look at my upbringing, it was because the attention wasn't brought to it. We never, when I say never discussed it, I can remember I was definitely an adult when my father described someone as light like me. And I laughed because we were similar in complexion. So I was like, light like me? You mean light like you? But, I think not pointing it out so much, and then being that safe place at home where they can come and say, if they do experience it outside in the world, they are able to say, this is what happened to me.
That's true.
I'm always worried about that. Because my temper when it comes to my kids
that's different.
Is so different. And to have kids that are all across the color spectrum, like all three of my kids, they all, like, I feel like my son is the lightest one now out of my other two. And then the oldest is in the middle. And then my baby is just like this. I don't know what color she's going to be. Because she is switching. Came out chocolate. And then now I'm like, okay, what color? Pick one. It's like, where are you going? But that's always a concern for me as they get older, that somebody's going to say something about one of my babies. And then now, I can have a discussion with them. But now I want to educate their parents. Like, okay, where's this baby's parents at? I remember, I mean, it's no shock for anybody that knows me, that grew up with me in high school, that I did date outside my race. Mostly dated outside my race before anything else, because of like how we talk about what we were around. Exposed to. I was at a school where the only black men that were there, I was related to them.
Okay.
So
that's your cousin, girl. No cousins.
So it's like, okay, if the first thing I see is somebody who's my dad is light, and then going to a school that is predominantly white, if that's what I'm surrounded by, then that's what I'm going to be attracted to. Absolutely. And especially the first person who, I'm not going to shout out his name.
No, please don't.
That was my bestie. But even like the first person who looked like, I could say this because it's an inside joke, looked like one of the Hanson brothers. I don't even know if you know who that is.
No, ma'am.
But it was like this, it's like this boy band. It's kind of like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Yeah, it's kind of like them. But he had this long ponytail. But that was like my best friend, and he was white. And I mostly fit in with that crowd. The black community really didn't accept me because of how I carried myself. Oh, you're not black enough to fit in with us. You're not ghetto enough to fit in with us. I'm like, okay, the only time you can deem me ghetto is when my anger gets the best of me, but I don't like that side of me. So
we're not doing that.
If you too proper, then you're not deemed black, and I'm taking your black card. Or if you didn't see this movie, me and my husband go back and forth now because he's like, how did you not see Roots? How did you not see this? How did you not see that? I'm like, okay, well, I didn't see it. Can I have some credit because I seen Color Purple? Like, can I have some of my black card?
Completely different. No, completely different.
I seen 12 Years of Slavery. I mean, I'm getting there. But some of those movies, it's hard to watch.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. They are really hard to watch.
Yes.
Right. But then it makes you angry. Like, how long am I going to be angry after I watch that?
Yeah, and then you be looking at everybody like, don't
sideways,
talk to me. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Don't say nothing. But just coming from just not being accepted, like, okay, well, I'm going to go where I'm accepted.
Yes.
So that's where I was accepted.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. Even today, there are, if you're walking down the street and you walk past a black woman, she generally turns her head.
Yes.
And it's sad, and sometimes I go out of my way to speak to that woman.
Yeah.
Because, you don't know what they're dealing with in that moment. So, or if it's an insecurity like we're discussing right now. But I don't find that same type of thing with white women.
Ooh, girl, that's a gut punch for me. Because I am that one that for years I could be walking down the street and I see a black woman and I look the other way. And I can't even identify why. Like, I don't know. It probably was an insecurity. Now I'm more deliberate. Like, I'm smiling. I'm trying to make eye contact with you and say hello. But I never did that. God just told me what it is. It's the insecurity of rejection.
Yes.
If I look at you and I smile and I say hello, or I just smile and you don't give me something back, now I feel bad.
And I think a lot of that rejection stems from what we experienced when we were younger. With that goes back to the whole colorism issue, because that's one of our initial. When
that's
we're
where it
younger,
begins.
That's among our own.
Yeah.
That we experienced that. I try to make myself speak even if they turn their head.
Okay.
Because oftentimes they will then turn back and say hello.
And they need that. Like, it's once you initiate it, it's like, oh, okay, we're good. Like, it probably changes their whole posture and their whole outlook. So that's good. I mean, now thankfully I've gotten to a point where I do it. And if you don't respond, oh well.
It's okay.
But it's because I'm in a different place. But that's an aha moment. Thank you, sis. Yeah. That's an aha moment.
They it has more to do with them than it does with us. And I think, like, just for me too, realizing that, because I remember I was at Target and at this group of black girls, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? And they looked at me. The other girl actually said, do you know her? And I said, no. I said, you need to go pray.
Fight.
You need to go pray. I could have said something else, but I was like, you need to go pray. You need to fix it.
Don't do that, Tiff. Leave people alone, because people crazy now.
I was by myself. I ain't had my kids.
Oh, and you were in Target, not Walmart. I forgot.
I was in Target. Walmart, and they ain't had bonnets on, so I was good.
So you were okay.
That's a whole nother story.
Listen. We're like, no.
Why are you acting like that?
Go pray, because something is wrong.
Something's off. But it's because it's not expected. Like, it's the difference in, like, if you think about being up north and down south. If you're down south, well, everybody's saying good morning. Like, it's a totally different culture and environment, and it's honestly hard for me to embrace because I'm not used to that Southern hospitality, and just it makes me shut down. Like, why you being so nice? Stop talking to me, kind of thing. But we don't. North, no.
Yeah.
New York, Philly.
Have you been to Texas?
No. Are they like that there?
They are. Okay. And it's from people like, I'm talking about the, y'all excuse me, I know you got 3 shotguns in your car. And they be like, hi, how you doing? How was your day? Have a whole conversation with you. Your kids are absolutely beautiful. See? I love that. Like, they just keep complimenting you. And it's just like, even when we go to like a certain restaurant, she be like, oh, I gave you extra. She talk about, we gonna thicken you up by the time you leave here.
Oh yeah, they want to feed you.
Yeah.
They always want to feed you.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
But it's from people that you would, because of where we come from, you look at them like, oh, they don't speak because of the certain
stereotype.
We
by stereotype
the way they look.
people, and I mean, same thing people do to us. You know, how many times have we said that, or like you hear people saying, and I've said it too, I've done it. When I'm in Philly, for instance, I'm walking down the street and I see a black male approaching, and
you clutch your purse.
I clutch my purse a little bit. I'm a little insecure. Like, I'm wondering, is he up to no good? And it's awful, but it's the reality of it. And then when this guy starts speaking, it's like, oh, this is an educated black brother, you know? So we have to really, don't get me wrong, we still have to be intentional in checking our surroundings and making sure we're safe. But we all do it. We all stereotype people, no matter how much you try not to. It's the reality.
Yes.
But I want to circle back to something you said about, being in school and just not necessarily fitting in, because people were like, you're not black enough, you're not this, you're not that. And I heard one of my mixed friends talk about that, where like she's half white, half black, and just the black people saying, oh, you're not black enough. The white girls don't like you because you don't fit in with them, and just being in a place of just not fitting in anywhere to the point where it's just like, how can I even function in this world? And I think that is just so sad.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
Somewhere.
Finding a place where you fit in. And you also mentioned about your daughters, like that's something, or your kids in general, worrying about that as they get older. I think you have no worry. And the reason why is because the way she pours into her girls, there's going to be such a confidence in knowing who they are that it's not even going to be an issue.
Yeah.
It's not even going to be an issue where, like you said, like some things are just not spoken on, or for you, it's something that was spoken in the household that triggered you, where it's like you don't have those conversations to really know and understand, but they going to understand.
Yeah. I try to make it so that they know from the early age that they are, that yes, there is a different, like they know they're a different color. They I pointed out, I'm gonna point certain stuff, and as they get older, there's another topic that I want to point out, and it's kind of like a debate in our house right now, but I want to point it out before the world gets a chance to do it, because I don't want them to go into shock. Like, for instance, how we talked about in one of our topics, sex. I want to be the first person, the first voice they hear on that topic before the world has a chance to talk to them about it. I don't want anybody to be like, oh, well, like what was said to me, because my parents are complete opposite sides of the spectrum. People told me I was adopted. It's like, there's no way that's your dad. And so I really went to my dad, like, are you really my dad? Like, they're saying that you're not my dad. I don't ever want that to be a discussion in my house of, well, your sister looks different, or your brother looks different than you. Why? I want them to have an answer.
Yeah.
Like, we're all absolutely beautiful just the way we are in every shade. And even a person that's saying that, I'm like, you're beautiful too. I want them to love on people and reduce that negative stigma that's attached to people's skin.
Yeah.
I experienced that with my son.
Okay.
There were, and my son is, I would say, medium brown skin, I guess. And there were people who felt as though I wasn't his mother, which, to me, in all honesty, I just thought it was really ignorant.
Yeah.
That, it wasn't something I discussed with him either, because, as I said, it wasn't discussed in my home. Now, I do recall when he was very, very young, he said he wanted to be a policeman for Halloween.
Okay.
So he says, but I want to be a policeman like you, mommy. Like he referred to one of the kids in the class with him. He was 2 or 3. And he says, he doesn't have any ears.
Okay.
I said, he doesn't have any ears. He has ears. So it turns out that he thought that I was white. Like the policeman father in school. So at that time, I actually bought this book for him. Was called Black is Brown is Tan. And it explained at that age the different shades that we have within the one race. Because I didn't want him to think, and obviously, even though he was still very young, he saw that there was a difference. He was predominantly white, if not all white, preschool at the time. And he noticed the difference between me and his father. So I tried to make sure at that point I educated him in the different shades. Also, not making it a big deal.
Right.
Because in all honesty, it's not a big deal.
It shouldn't be. And that's key.
We're all the same. On the inside, We are all the same. And then when we allow that type of, turmoil, that difference, that, that struggle within our own race, it gives those that are racist validation.
Fuel.
We fall right into the category with them when we have that struggle among ourselves.
Ooh, yeah. That's good, and that's true. And what an appropriate way for you to handle it. So kudos to you. Like, are we just going to get this book, read it to him, let him read it to give him understanding of who he is and be done with it, like without a big deal. I was looking at something online this morning. And it was a reel from Maverick City Music, who I absolutely love. And I'm going to have to share that. I think I shared it. I'm going to share it on the Sister Talks page, though. And the girl, she was Puerto Rican, and she was talking about how people online are always talking about the kingdom of God, and they have no idea. They don't understand the kingdom of God. She just wants them to be quiet. She said it makes her get so angry that she sometimes just clicks off of social media, because if we're functioning in the kingdom of God, she said God let her know specifically, you can't be Puerto Rican first, because she was Spanish. Absolutely. You can't be black first. You can't be white first. If you're about the kingdom comes first. Yes. And I think if we looked at everything that way, none of these things would even be an issue or a topic. Sadly, we have to talk about it because everybody doesn't understand kingdom principles.
Yeah, I gotta find that reel. There was a white woman, and she said, "We all black." She was just like, we all came from, she was like, we're not going to pretend that when they described Jesus in the Bible that he didn't have the representation of what we see now in the black community. And she was talking about made in his image. She was like, whose image? What does that look like? And she was like, I'm sorry. She was like, I'm gonna piss a whole lot of people off with this one. But she was like, we are all black. Our ancestors come from the root of, and like she broke that whole history down. And I was like, ooh, they
stepping on some toes. Come on,
they was mad at her, but like she even broke down to like our skin and the equator and where we fit. And she's like, okay, if you were here and you got less sun, this is why you're this shade. And if you came from here, then this all you got was sun. She was like, oh, but no, we're all the same. She was like, go back to Adam and Eve. We are all the same.
Yeah.
She broke it all the way down. I was like,
that's a good one. You got to find that one and share.
Yeah, that was really good. I got to find a link to that one too, because she did a whole thing on it. She ripped everybody. There were so many people shifting in their seats.
I can only imagine. Yes. Things that are uncomfortable, but we got to talk about them. Yeah. We got to talk about them, because all that matters is what's on the inside, like you just said, like you told your son. We are all the same on the inside, and nothing else matters.
All created by God, fearfully and wonderfully made.
In His
image. Yes. And we discussed that even with the controversy that we dealt with as young children. One thing I can say for today, that it has helped me to understand that God has called me to be a peculiar person. The alienation, not fitting in. I am in this world, but not of this world.
Yes.
And that's the word of God.
Yes.
We are not to be, of this world. So it gives me a comfortability, so thank you to all those that alienated me. Because I know who I am in Christ.
Yeah.
And that is where the connection has to be made initially. It's not about the color of my skin, whether it's light, dark, or in between. It's who I am in Christ.
Yeah. And it was you aggravating some of the stuff that was in them that they didn't like, and they had nothing. They was trying to put a color on it in order for them to understand.
Yeah.
But there's no coincidence that the same thing that you were going through, I was going through.
Yes.
And it was like, because it had nothing to do with our color of our skin. It had to do with, even before I wanted to give God credit, he had already had me marked. So it goes back to, you don't see it yet, but everybody else sees it.
Yeah. And just that uncomfortability. We talk about this all the time, about being in rooms of, everybody's just having a good old time. And we just feel like an alien, like this is, that's the best way I could explain it. Like just the alien, like this just doesn't make sense. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't feel right in this setting or this atmosphere. But like you said, it's because we're peculiar. You're not the same as others, or anybody that's walking in the purpose of God or has a calling on their lives. You're just not going to fit into certain settings. But think about how long, I can only speak for myself, how long I tried to make it fit. It's like putting a square peg into a round hole, like try so hard to make it fit for years and years and years, and just, whew.
Yeah,
I can't.
I remember there's a I was cracking up because there's a reel on. There's two. I think one of them I sent to you, and how was it? The guy's name is 𝓻𝓲𝓮𝓲, and he's absolutely hilarious. But he was talking about, he's like, yeah, you praying to God, talk about something. God, remove everybody. He said, before you know, you be like alone in the room.
It's just me and you. That is so true.
Be like, listen, all right, you asked God to remove people, and then you wondering why your boyfriend walking out the door. Like, because you asked him to remove everything. It's like, be careful what you pray for. But he had me scream.
That's a good one. Yeah, you got to share that one again. Because it's so appropriate though, right? Yes. We talked about before, I can remember praying those prayers and then having that uncomfortable time where it's like, I don't have nobody. Just
like,
lonely.
God, you got rid of them too?
Yeah.
You don't even know what you're surrounding yourself with.
No, we don't. And you don't think about the ramifications or how things and people affect you.
Absolutely.
Until they're gone. Because it's, like the freedom that comes.
Yeah.
And even to this day, like some of them, I'm like, wow, that was the best decision I could have ever made. But how hard was it?
Yeah.
In doing it?
Yes.
And then some of it's hard because of how we think we're going to be perceived when we do it.
That whole...
Like there's a lot of people that I kept because I didn't want anybody to call me disloyal. Like, I'm going to keep you because you can never say I wasn't here. You can never say this. You can never say that. And I remember with one of my friends, and I had known her. I was 3 years old when I met her. And he says, you're taking the place of me. You're going to have to get out my way. And I'm just like, I was the person that had to be removed. And I know a lot of times we talk about people removing, God removing stuff out of our lives. But no, I was the person that had to be removed from hers. He said, I'm going to need you to leave.
Yeah, because she was looking at you like her God, her answer to everything.
I'm going to call you every time there's a problem. I want you to fix it. I want you to pray me out of this situation. He's like, no, I need her to do the praying. Yeah, you're going to have to move. Like, ooh.
I always say, point them to God.
Yes.
He's the one that can lead them, and guide them and direct them. It's not us.
Right.
And they do sometimes become reliant on you and your prayers. I always say, what, you pimping me for my prayers?
Yeah.
Because, I don't need you to rely on me. I need you to keep your eyes on God, because what he has for me is for me.
Yeah.
It may not be the same thing that he has for you. So, we have to keep our eyes on him.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was just talking about this to another friend, where you have people that come to you and it's like, okay, I need your help. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. And in this instance, how sometimes things just don't sit right, so I'm like, I gotta pray about this and I gotta think it through. But it was that exact same scenario of, no, you just want me to do the work. And while you continue to do what you want to do, so you want to suck all the life out of me, where you do nothing. So it's no. So it's understanding and knowing those times when, okay, should I? Because God wants me to, or am I just doing this because I feel like I can do it? And you talked about that before too.
Yeah, and then you pray them out or something, and they go right back.
Yeah,
you not just get finished. You losing 3 days of sleep for you to just go back to the same. Most of the time, it's the knucklehead. Like you went right back to the same knucklehead after you done set up here. Oh, I just want to remove the pain. God, remove it. You gonna go back? Like, now I know how God feel, because I done did the same thing to him so many times. God, if you get me out of this, I'll never do it again. 1 foot on the floor, like you can't.
Yes.
I won't do it no more.
I won't do it. Here come next weekend. Oh, I'm out.
That's one thing I learned as a life coach. Like everyone, they come to you for answers, but the answer is within them.
Mm-hmm.
So as a life coach, you're taught to just ask questions. Never to give advice, but just ask questions that will help them to find, uncover the answer within themselves. So, I have found that, I'll just question after question until that person is almost frustrated because they recognize that they're finding the answer.
Yeah. And it's probably not always the answer that they want,
Right. They want you to tell them something different. They want it when they know. You already know the answer, especially for those of us that are truly connected to God and truly have a relationship with God. You know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. Yeah. And I'm speaking to myself right now, too. So we already know the answer, but we want someone else sometimes to take us in another direction, and often that's how we get off course. Yeah. Instead of, being still, listening to what God is saying to you and following that. So.
Yeah, that's true. Life Coach Jacqui. That's so true. Somebody shared something this morning that was talking about that, and God basically not needing our help in things where like we, instead of just being still, and one of my friends sent me something yesterday. It was in her daily devotion that said, pray and watch. Yeah. Pray and watch. And I needed that so bad because like we often get in our heads and it's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do, or this is what I should do. Maybe God is telling me to do this instead of just being still, praying, watching, and listening. And we were just talking about earlier that a lot of times when it's God, it's going to be uncomfortable. And if it's something that we feel like we're hearing that's uncomfortable, it ain't you, because I'm not going to make myself uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, I don't even want to do that. Michael Todd, that's my boy. He was he was doing this. I love his illustrations, but he was on a treadmill. He's like, God got you set to this speed, but you on a treadmill, you trying to run. He's like, are you getting there any quicker? No, you got to go this speed or you going to tire yourself out before you get to the destination. And it's really true. Like just being obedient. Now, that obedience is easy when it's something like, all right, I like this part. I like the blessings part, but I don't want to do the work. And I think that's where, I don't know if it was him or Tim Ross or maybe both of them, because I know they're friends. But he was like, it's Tim Ross, the instant Christians. He was like, you instant Christians. y'all put y'all prayer in the microwave and you want a blessing to come out. And I was like, did you just come for me today?
Yeah. We want the blessings, but we don't want the lessons.
Yes.
And that's where we learn. That's where, through those trials, those tribulations, those lessons, those tests that sometimes are so difficult and so uncomfortable. But that is how we get to the next level.
Right. Yeah. I was just talking to you about this
they're
yesterday.
Taking the same thing over
Jacqui,
and over again.
Sis, God just speaking and confirming. Because I was just talking to Tiffany about something that I'm dealing with. And it's not moving. And I finally came to the point of surrender, and I'm like, I'm not getting the lesson. I'm missing something here. And I was telling her that like it was so heavy on my mind. You know how you just keep playing the reel over and over and over in your mind, that I couldn't even really focus on anything but it. So I would keep a sermon in my ear or like gospel music or something all day just to kind of quiet the noise. Yes. But she made such a good point, and she said, I hear what you're saying, like you have it in the background, but how much better would it be if you just intentionally set time apart to go and lay before God and listen to what he's saying?
Yep,
and I'm like,
ouch.
I'm getting ready to throw a shoe.
And I mean, I've gotten beat up about that because I'll spend quality time watching How to Get Away with Murder, which is my show right now, or even in, oh God, all right, he getting me, because I will go kicking and screaming if I don't get that quality time with my husband. I need you to turn the phone off. I need you to be paying attention to me. I want that quality time.
Yes.
But am I really turning my phone off and turning the TV off for God? Like, and just really sitting there with that quality time. And I could spend 10 to 15 minutes with my husband in this quality time, and I'm filled. I'm good.
Yes.
Versus him, an hour of him being on the phone and him feeling like, okay, I'm a multitask. I'm going to do more than one thing. And that's what God wants. He'd rather have that 10 or 15 minutes of undivided attention versus, all right, well, I'm going to turn on a sermon and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to clean my house. With me, I'm going to clean my house. I'm going to cook dinner. I'm going to talk on the phone and just have you in the background.
Woo.
And God has a still small voice. So it requires us to be still, which is something I struggle with as well. You know, being still, allowing him to speak to me. But it's in those times, you know, and sometimes just having things turned off. So often we have the radio on, we're listening to music, even if it is gospel music. Sometimes you just need to turn everything off, turn the TV off, turn the radio off, and just be still.
Yeah.
You know, even I have had times where I'm ironing and God will, because the house is quiet, and he'll speak to me in that moment. Now, I may still be productive, but I may not, quiet. Always just be laying there, but I don't have that background noise. And some people need background noise all day. You know, so, and I often question, so when do you hear from God?
Yeah.
Because he's not going to speak over your radio.
No.
Yeah.
Girl, that's so pertinent.
If he does,
and
you in trouble.
I totally, yeah, right. He's screaming at you, right? I totally missed that because I do it so often. And it just now makes more sense about how we talk about, oh, when I get in the shower, it's like a whole download because it's the only time during the day where I'm not doing anything. Or on my car ride to work, it's a whole download because it's that quiet time. So, all right, sisters, that's my challenge for the week. It's your challenge. But since we talked about it, she just brought a whole new perspective of what I'm doing. And not just because for me, it's normally at night when my day ends. Okay, let's talk a little bit. But no, I need to give him more time, quiet time throughout my day. Yes. All right, y'all. Yes.
I like to begin my day quiet. And I like to end my day quiet.
It's good. It's important.
Just so, even if I'm not intentionally praying, I may just be praying, within, it gives me time just to kind of focus and download and allow God to speak to me.
Okay. So that's what we're doing from now on. And I did start, and I am going to continue that because in doing that just over the last two days or so, I'm not liking what I'm hearing. I won't even pretend. It's uncomfortable, but because it's uncomfortable, I know it's God speaking and what he wants to do. I don't know how we got there, but that's where God wanted us to go.
And he'll bring that comfort back. Yes. Like I remember it's funny because a lot of stuff is like in parent and child form where I'll punish one of my kids because they did something, and then later on, like after they settled down, I'm like, okay, now give me a hug and let's talk about it. And that's how God is. Oh, he gonna rip you a new one every once in a while, but it's still in love.
Oh, I know. I do.
So you're gonna get your hug afterwards, but it's just a season you gonna have to go through.
Yeah, it's like, oh boy, but clearly not getting it, not getting the lesson, not getting it at all.
I was gonna call it an uncomfortable peace. Because although we're uncomfortable, once we start to move,
that's true.
He gives us a peace. A peace that, like they say, that surpasses all understanding. When we are operating in the area that He has told us to.
Yes, girl. Yes.
It's like I don't want to go, but once you do go, He gives you a peace.
The anxiety is gone. The anxiety that I have felt literally for a couple weeks is now gone. I never even thought about that. I'm getting a beat down, but I'm no longer anxious about it. Well, that was good, sisters.
That was.
It was my moment to hear and receive today, and I receive it all. I do, definitely. So just getting back to the whole colorism, melanin, our conversation. During our conversation, and we're talking, and you tell me that you wrote a poem about it.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, girl, read me this poem. Okay, so I'm going to let her read this poem to y'all, because when she read this poem to me, it almost brought me to tears. And just the feeling of, you are going to free so many people with this.
And that's what you said.
It was huge. Even now, like, my body is just, I feel the tingles and the feeling like I want to well up. So I'm going to try not to well up when you read it. But this is a blessing. And I believe that she has a whole poem book in her.
I receive it in Jesus' name.
We just going to have to see how that unfolds. But okay, sis, read us your beautiful poem.
Okay. Before I read, I want to give a little prelude just to how it came about.
Okay.
And I was actually taking my class for life coach certification with Dina McMillan-Billups.
Hey, Dina. Shout out to you.
Yes, she is an awesome, anointed woman of God.
We've talked about her book, The Naked Challenge, that I did. You actually recommended it to me.
Yes.
And I had to tuck it away for 2 months because I wasn't ready. But once I got ready, can I tell you, sisters, that the healing, deliverance, the freedom that came from it, we're going to tag that again so people can go back and get that book. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. And I shared with her, my husband would often be setting up the lighting because it was on Zoom. And I would get upset with him if there was too much light on me because I felt like I looked too light. Mm-hmm. It was just a moment of struggle for me. I don't know why. And I often felt that the other women had so much more to share. So that they were more articulate. I was just really going through a tough beat me up, that it's the enemy. Mm-hmm. Like, because you're doing something, you get your Christian certification here, life coach certification. The enemy was busy. So I shared that with her. I said, I just felt as though the others did such, a better job. Also that I told her about the struggle I was having with the light. Like I would often, turn one light off and, tell my husband to turn the light the other way so I didn't look so light in the, on the Zoom. And she sent a portrait that she had painted. Mm-hmm. And it was different faces that were looking through the shades. Mm-hmm. And she said, what does God tell you about this? And as I looked at it, she said, don't tell me now. Just think about it. So that night, God actually downloaded this poem into my spirit. Mm-hmm. And I got up and I had to put it down. Mm-hmm. And, because I knew it was God. I couldn't let it go. Mm-hmm. So the poem is called Shades. We peer through our own private shades as we assess the different shades and allow our thoughts and our words to express shade. Shade that my sister is different. Shade that my sister is fair. Shade that my sister is dark. Shade that my sister is mocha. If only the shades were a mirror. If only we could see that my fair sister, my dark sister, my brown sister is only me looking back at me.
I can't snap. I got it because sometimes you be having the nails off. Like I ain't trying to pop a nail.
That is so good. We're definitely going to share the image of that painting because when you showed it to me, just wow, like it all ties together. It's just good. That poem takes me out every time. It's like it takes my words away. Like I got nothing.
And I wasn't, when I shared it with you, you were probably, other than my husband and my son, I don't know that I had shared it with anyone else. It was I did send it to Dina after, and it initially she didn't receive it because we have different phones. So she didn't get it because I sent it through notes. And she was like, what poem? I didn't get the poem. So I wasn't necessarily comfortable sharing it because I'm not, I haven't written a poem since probably elementary school, So I didn't plan to share that with you. That's why I knew that it was God. I knew that it was, God intended us to be here today and discuss this because it wasn't me that was like, listen, you got to hear my poem, sis, because it was private. It was personal. I didn't intend to.
Yeah. Oh, I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I remember after you shared me, just the God moment and me telling you, okay, because God, I feel like is screaming at me like, she needs to be on. She needs to be on. She needs to be on. And I'm like, I don't really know her that well yet to say this. But I remember saying, okay, I'm going to just pray about it. But I think I see a joint venture here. And I think that I'm seeing you on the podcast, I think is what I said. And I said, pray about it. And you shot right back. I already saw myself there. So it just made me feel like, okay, I'm not crazy again. Because sometimes when we feel like God is yelling at us, it's like, how is this going to be received?
Yes.
Where he had already told you, but I had no idea what it was going to look like. And then he slowly over the month started to unfold exactly what the connection was going to be. So this is my sister, y'all. Like, for real, for real.
You sharing her now.
Yeah, okay, yeah. All right. I'm going to share her with you. I'm not going to share her with too many people. And it's just the sisterhood that comes from the private prayers.
Amen.
Of bringing those God connections that we've been asking for and seeing God just, again, put those puzzle pieces together, and a manifestation of those private prayers is something that I am eternally grateful for. And no amount, and you talked about this a couple weeks ago, no amount of money, no amount of material things, no amount of stuff can ever compare to this. So to God be the glory for what he is, he's doing.
It's just, for me, it's increased my faith in him because, letting people go, you're like, well, if I let this person go, what do I have? He's always having so much more for us than what we can actually see.
Yeah.
And then finally letting those people and those things go, and then God replacing them. It's like, this is what I wanted for you. And really able to see his plan was better than my own. I hear like growing up, you're like, oh, they just saying that.
Yeah, his thoughts are not your thoughts, his ways are higher than our ways.
That's not what God has for you. Okay, you're just saying that. I'm going out, see you at 2 a.m.
Is that curfew time?
No, hush. I had to be home by 12.
Yeah.
I had to be home by 12. But most time I did, I stuck to it. But to see him replace everything that I fought so hard on, I won't fight you on nothing else. Like, I really won't fight you on nothing else.
You can have it.
Yeah, you can really have it. Like, okay, God, like, I finally get it.
Yeah.
And now making other people get it a whole lot quicker so they're not wasting time.
Right. Well, that's what this platform is all about. Sharing our experiences, our aha moments, our enlightenment with the hopes of someone else not having to deal with the struggles and the long road that we had to deal with.
Or people's life caught short.
Yeah.
Because of the people that they have in their lives. Yes, there's so much stuff on the news about women losing their lives because of who they had who they were surrounded. Oh, you know what? I just want to fit into one mom. She was on her kids was part of some sport, so she went because she's like, okay, this is a mom activity. I'm gonna go, and they killed her.
Yeah.
And this is like how and just really paying attention to, you're not being stuck up, or you're not being whatever society labels you. If you say, I feel something here, so I'm not going
to do it.
Or I'm going to sit in this uncomfortable and I'm not going to move until it's okay to move.
Yes.
You talked about that, or we talked about it. I can't remember how it came up, with understanding that everyone cannot have access to you.
Absolutely.
How important that is, but to God be the glory again for all those times where he covered us, but we went into situations where we knew we didn't have any business being and made it out alive.
Because people think they're invincible.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And people turn a deaf ear to God. You know, like he will speak to you. He will show you. He'll show you the circles you don't belong in. You know, and sometimes it's painful when people walk out of your life and you think that they should be there because you've become accustomed to them being there. But when you allow God to sit still and allow him to do what he has to do, he will connect you with the right people.
Yeah. Whew. Yes, he will.
A lot of people are vices. Like, I feel like a lot of people that I connected myself to over the years, they were all vices. Like, you were filling the void of something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Or something that I didn't have to fix in myself. Yeah, like I don't have to fix this because now there's a commonality in our crap.
Yeah.
So I don't have to
you
fix
making it easy for me to just do that.
Okay, you dealing with the same issue. Okay,
right,
I'm not
we
alone.
good.
Yeah, we
hey,
good.
bestie.
Yeah, we both pick up the same toxic people. Okay, we good.
Yeah. But
you have to be careful too of friends that always agree with you. You know, you want someone in your life that will call you on your stuff. No, you wrong right there.
Yes.
You know, like, or at least shine the light on it so that you see. You know, often we communicate and you'll say, "Oh, you showed me this or you showed me that," and vice versa.
Yeah.
But you don't want someone in your life that's always agreeing with you.
That's a problem. I was talking to you about this transparency moment of our friendship and our connection and the timing for it and how God works everything in his perfect timing, and sharing with you that had you come my way even 2-3 years ago, I would have been like, no, I'm good. I chose people who needed me. Like, it was me giving, me pouring, me feeling like I had more to offer. I know more than you, and not really the type of person, because of my insecurities, willing to sit at the feet.
To pour something after that one.
To sit at the feet of women that know more than me, godly women that can show me something, because I'm so insecure. Like, I'm feeling like I have to shrink down and I'm not worthy of sitting in this room, or I'm going to feel stupid or insecure and all of these things. But God in his time, and it's like now, ooh, download, give me all you got.
Did I send you that message with Sarah Jakes?
No.
She was just talking about that. She was talking about us being a net. And she was talking about us being put in a room where we're supposed to catch everything, but we want to be so busy throwing everything. She was like, just sit in there and be a net and let everybody download. And she was like, you be like, I don't belong in this room. I'm not supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
No, but you are.
Yeah, you really are.
Yeah, and just feeling like that whole thing for me of being worthy. Because I'd rather feel comfortable than to feel unworthy. So that's a big thing for me. Like, even when I look at my friends now, a therapist, got all these degrees, and are so successful in like in ways that I admire. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. But they're downloading so much stuff. Like, okay, you want to go back to school? This is what you need to do.
Right.
You can do it and still have kids. You can do it and do this. Where other people, it's just like, oh no, you doing a lot, girl. You got 3 kids.
You don't need to do that. You good, girl.
You good. You don't need to do it. Yeah. But it's like, no, this is what I really want to do. And them feeding into me what I really want to do and not letting me be lazy.
It's also recognizing who we are in Christ. So, you know, I hear you say being there to catch all, but iron sharpens iron. So we have to recognize that even though we may not have all the degrees, we may not be in the same position as someone else, we are still iron.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I still have something within me that God gave me that's unique to me that I have to offer someone else. And that's, I think, a true healthy relationship. When the two of you can recognize that not only are you sharpening me, but I'm sharpening you.
Yes.
You know, not to have that insecurity of, oh, you know, she got it all together and she's doing, you know, no. I feel as though you can learn from every age, every stage.
That is true. That is so true. So true. degrees, no degrees, social statuses, none of it matters, because ultimately, and back to what we were talking about before, in the kingdom, we are who God says we are.
That's right.
No matter what.
And he is no respecter of persons.
No, he is not. He is absolutely not. All right, we need to start to wrap up, because we can go on and on and on and on with our talks.
This has been wonderful.
It has. I'm so glad to have you. This is going to be the first of many. I already know that.
Me too.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
I am.
So I guess we will end with our question, and that is, what does sisterhood mean to you, my sister Jacqui?
Sisterhood to me means loyalty. It means that I have your back, regardless of what the situation is.
Yes.
That I have your back. If it's I have to operate from a position of tough love, or if it's a soft love, you know, that, but I have your back. That if you are not in that room, that I still speak about you in the same manner.
Yes, that is so important to me. So important to me. Like, no matter what, and you can be right, wrong, or indifferent, but nobody's gonna sit in this room and have this conversation.
Yeah.
Well, y'all know if somebody says something to you because something about y'all, because y'all gonna hear like Tiffany was fighting. That's what y'all gonna hear.
We
like,
still working on her. We still working on her.
Yeah, y'all gonna know. Somebody talk about somebody I love. Like, wait, which one were they talking about? Because she fought. Now I gotta go pick her up. Yeah. You gonna know.
We working on it.
Whole room.
Yeah,
whole room tore up. I'm gonna tell you where to go get the bail money. Be like, listen.
We on our way. We coming to get you. But we gonna keep working on that one too.
You can come get me and pray. Like, listen.
So what does sisterhood mean to you, sis? Today.
I got a controversial one because like mine's is territory.
Okay.
I just like how we take care of our houses, we take care of stuff that we love. Like I feel like people, material objects people take care of more than they take care of their personal territory than they do people.
Okay.
So like with my territory, with people, my sisters, the ones that I love, I hold it to a higher regard than I hold anything else. Like how we were talking about with any material thing, I hold it higher. This is my territory. You walk on my territory, there's going to be a problem. You know how that they say, beware of dog sign. Beware of messing. We need to get that. Beware of messing with my sister sign because you walking on my territory, and it's like, okay, once you cross that threshold, that don't get me. That legal threshold line, I can shoot you in this legal.
In my house. You in my house.
Yes, if you cross this territory, if you cross this line, I got the legal right to shoot you and get away with it because you crossed that line.
You up in my house. You mess with my sisters.
In my house. You on my territory.
Yeah, my sister circle. Yeah, that's true. That's a good one. For me, my thoughts today, just with this setup and having you here, we already have this, but expressing to you that to me, sisterhood means freedom. Like, I'm experiencing a freedom that I've never felt before. And I know that I'm free to be me with my sisters in a true sisterhood, and free to walk in exactly who God called me to be. I'm free without any judgment, without anybody looking down on me, or just free to be me. Freedom. That's what it is to me. So I guess we need to definitely wrap up.
Our sister circle. Thank you for joining Sister Talk Network. I'm your little sis. I'm Tiffany.
I'm your big sis, and I am April.
And we got a new sis.
Yes, Jacqui is our sister.
Thank y'all for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
See you.